I'm gonna show you how to maximize the transfer fees when selling your players. This includes some of the best negotiation tactics, but also what to do to boost the value of your players before you've even started negotiating. So if you're sick and tired of the AI bidding half your player's value, this is the video for you. Let's start off with looking at what you can do before you've even started negotiating. Now there's two things you can focus on: the timing of your sale and making your player more attractive for the other clubs to bid on. Let's start off with having a look at when you want to sell your players. My favorite time to sell my players is at the very start of a transfer window. The other clubs will have their entire budget still to spend and everyone's looking for deals, so this is the time where you can get some real big bids. Furthermore, the earlier you start selling your players, the more time you will have to negotiate, as well as finding a replacement. But it's not the only time where you can get some crazy bids for your players. You might want to wait for the chaos of deadline day. Sure, most other clubs will have finalized their transfer deals, but the ones who are still looking for a player will be panicking and will be much more likely to overspend on transfers. So when selling your players, try to aim for either the start of a transfer window or deadline day. Now we know when to sell, let's look at some methods to boost the value of our players beforehand. All of them focus on making the player more attractive for the other clubs to buy. Let's think about what kind of player the other clubs would want to pay big money for. And I think the most obvious one is a player who has been performing well. So to get the most amount of money for your players, you want to boost their average rating. Now there's two ways to do this if they aren't already playing well in your first 11. You can send them out on loan to a different league where you know they're gonna absolutely dominate, so you can sell them for some big cash the next transfer window. Or you can make sure to start them in your easiest fixtures to artificially boost that average rating a bit. Either way, try and get their average rating as high as possible before you start negotiating to pique the interest of the other clubs. Another way to make your players more interesting for the other clubs is specifically when they're on big wages, because that might be getting in the way of their big money move. See if you can negotiate a new contract with them to lower their wage. If you can, you will have to wait another transfer window or two before the player will be interested in leaving again. But it could make a world of difference for getting the other clubs interested and getting you the highest transfer fee possible. Now onto some things you want to avoid before you start negotiations. The number one thing you want to avoid when selling your players is having that player be in the last months of their contract. This not only dramatically drops the value of the player, it also puts you in the situation where you have to be afraid of them leaving on a free, severely limiting your negotiation power. So try to prevent this situation if you can. Ideally, trigger a contract extension or sign them on a new deal extending it by 1 year to try and sell them in the next transfer window. Another thing you want to try and avoid is completely pissing the player off. Now sometimes this is gonna happen, especially if you're offering the player out against their wishes to get some interest going from the other clubs. But you don't want to have an angry player at your club for a longer period of time, especially if it's a highly influential player. This means that you won't want to wait for a longer period of time before selling an angry player, which will limit your negotiation power again. So while it can be completely avoided, be sure to check if you're gonna piss a player off before you start negotiating, so you can keep it in mind. And a final way to boost your player's value is tapping that like button. I just did, and look at that player's value go! Now for what you can do during the negotiations. There are two strategies for getting the highest value for your players, and they depend on two main factors. Do you need the money right now? And what do you think his next transfer will be after leaving your club? If you don't need a lot of money right now and you think the player's next transfer after leaving your club might be a big one, for example if you're selling a youngster with a bit of potential, it's better to not focus so much on the transfer fee but on getting a higher percentage of the profit of the next sale. Sure, you might lose out on some money on the short term, but if that player does go on to make that big move, your patience will be rewarded handsomely. But if you don't think you can profit on his next transfer that much, or you just want the most amount of money right now, it's time to drive up that transfer fee. And there's one golden ticket to maximizing transfer fees when negotiating player sales: incremental offering. It's the best way to get the highest value for your players, and it might even start bidding wars between other clubs. Let's have a look at how to do it. You start by offering out a player for a very small fee, one that you would never actually accept. The idea is to get the ball rolling and pique the interest of the other clubs. Once the initial bids come in, you can reject them all and offer the player out for the smallest fee that you would find acceptable. Following that, it might be that you don't get any bids. In that case, you might have overvalued your player a bit. Drop your asking price a little bit and offer him out again. Now if one or more clubs get back to you and match your offer, there's still more money to be had. Reject all those offers and offer them out again for a bit more money. Repeat this process till you've got an offer for a negotiable deal. In this negotiation, slowly come down on your suggested offers till they accept your deal. Once you've got this accepted offer, you're not done yet. Offer the player out again for a bit more than the transfer fee you just agreed upon to see if any club wants to start a bidding war. If you do get a better offer, you can reject the previous deal, accept this deal, but then offer the player out for even more money. You can repeat this process until you get the highest transfer fee possible. A final tip for when you're not getting any acceptable bids. It could be that even though you've looked at the wage of the player you're trying to sell, as per the previous tips, his wage demands might still be scaring off potential buyers. Before you start lowering your asking price, if your wage budget allows it, try offering him out with a bit of wage contribution, because it might just make the difference between you getting that high transfer value. Now, what's just as important as maximizing your transfer sales is making sure you win your crucial games in your season. Check out this video where I go through some of the best ways to make sure you get those Ws. I'll see you on the next video.